Hello everybody, we're here with their coach Ebony Lane, also one of the fastest women in Australia at the moment for the 100 metre sprint. And Ebony had a race last night, Maurie plant meet in Melbourne at Lakeside. How'd you go, Ebony?
Yeah, it went well. Obviously it was the top 8 fastest girls in Australia at the moment. We also had a New Zealand girl as well. So it was really good to just be up against the best in the country at the moment and just see where things take me, see how my training has put into my performance. And yeah, I placed really well, ran a good time. It was the first out of the blocks as always. So yeah, everything's coming together and it's really showing on the track as well.
Yeah, awesome. And let's talk about your starts.
Yeah.
Because you seem to be, every time I watch, you seem to be a very fast starter.
Yeah.
So talk about the start. What goes into the start of a 100 metre race? How do you prepare for something like that? I understand that you break the race into sections.
Yeah.
Right. So in terms of the start, what type of things are you doing in your training to simulate the start?
Yeah.
And is that true? So it is broken up into sections?
Yep. Yeah. So you pretty much have your acceleration phase, going into your drive phase, and then holding that for the rest of the race. So when it comes down to your acceleration phase or coming out of the blocks, it's pure strength, power, and just trying to get that leg turnover as quick as possible. So being a short sprinter, I've found that if I can nail my start and put as much strength and power into that first 20 metres, that's what's going to set me up for the race as opposed to everyone else who's a head taller than me. So by doing that and getting the start to be perfect, that's what definitely gets me the upper hand for that first 50, 60 metres, and then just whatever I've got left after that.
Yeah. And in the gym, as an example, what types of exercises or movements would you do in that drive phase?
Yeah. So a lot of heavy lifting and just really low sets and reps with those. So just putting as much weight on the bar as possible. So trap bar is a really good one. Box squats, just trying to get really good movement and power from those exercises. And then you're putting those with other exercises such as like banded jumps, box jumps, things that's going to really propel you off the ground at a fast pace.
Yeah, it makes sense. Very, very interesting. And then into that phase after the 60 metres, and you talk about then it's just giving it everything after that.
Yeah.
Talk about that. What do you do in training to improve that?
Yeah.
And what have you been doing in the lead up to this?
Yeah.
On that.
So it's definitely still a work in progress for me, and that's probably my weakness in the 100 metres at the moment is that last sort of 30 metres. But when it comes down to it, it then comes down to a lot of longer distance sort of work. So in the pre-season, I go more into a 400 metre based program to allow for the 100 metres to not seem as long. And then we then transition into more like 120s and 150s. And then again, just a lot of like bike and pull sessions to make up for those little bits. And then it just sort of then is like a work in progress for then when you get onto the track, putting that in and trying to run it as if you are running that longer distance, like a 120 or a 150 instead of 100. But again, that's something that I still am trying to work towards and focus on a little bit more.
Yeah. And you were the second youngest in the field last night?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the highest level in Australia, isn't it?
Yeah. So last night's meet actually was higher than what our national championships was because they brought so many international athletes down. That was the highest that I have raced so far, and probably against like in front of the biggest crowd that I've raced against too. Yeah.
And how did it feel?
It was good. I personally didn't really see the crowd until I finished the race, which then just shows that my pre-race sort of routine is working because I honestly just didn't even notice the people until I turned around and I saw the crowd and I was like, oh my God, there's so many people here. So that was a good feeling and definitely something that I never thought would happen. Especially they had another competition there about 5 years ago called the Nitro, where Usain Bolt came and he was running there, and the crowd was about the same. But I honestly was just not even at anywhere close to that level. And my parents said to me last night, that was amazing. Like, we didn't think you would ever be in that sort of competition. And now you're here with 8 people that get selected. And you're running in front of massive crowds, getting signatures, photos of kids. Like, it's just incredible.
Yeah, it was awesome to see. I saw your mum come over to you, and it was a beautiful moment to see how much your mum really did. You know, so proud of you, and then even the kids getting the autographs. I thought that was super cool too. It must have been a good feeling for yourself. So I guess last night, as an example, those rainy days, those days when you're grinding by yourself out there that nobody sees, does last night kind of, for you, make it, when there is a crowd and there is these people watching athletics, all worth it?
100%, yeah. There's definitely days where, you are having to just grind, or you're not motivated to do the extra work. But it just shows that if you do put in the extra work, those rewards are going to come, no matter what. No matter what.
And on that note, would you have any advice to people that may be watching this? Because I think it's something sometimes, like what you just said, right? People see the end, they may see the result. So they may look at you and say, you know, maybe she was always like that, and that's just how she is, so I can't do that. What would you say to those people? Because I imagine, Ebony, you'd have those days where, you know, your training schedule is quite intense, right? You're training a lot. There's days that I can imagine you probably don't want to train, right? And there's days that are lonely and all the rest of it. So people watching this that kind of are scared to start training, right? Or take that first step, and it's like, oh, but I can't do what she does or he does or whatever it is. What would you say to those people?
I think it's going to really come down to envision your higher self and try and be that person every single day. Put in the extra work that's going to get you to be the highest version of yourself. Even if it's something that you never imagined that you would get to, the level that you would get to, or the person that you're seeing as that higher self, if you're putting in the 1% every single day and you're doing those extra things to try and become that highest version, it's going to happen.
Awesome. And what drives you? What motivates you at the moment?
I think for me, I don't get everything handed to me on a plate. I've worked extremely hard to get to where I am. And I think that that's super powerful and something that I'm proud of, because I put in so much extra work and pay for so many extra things that others just get given to them. And even just to stand at that start line with those girls, and I'm like, I know that they get this and they get that and they get that, and I've got it all myself. And that's such a good feeling. Even if I don't come out and win and they beat me, I know that if I then continue to put in those extra work and I continue to put the money into the things that are going to get me there, it's bound to happen. If I'm training like them, I'm going to end up being just as good as them.
Yeah, that's very powerful. That's very good. I totally agree with you. There's nothing like earning it, paid in full. I like to say paid in full, blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
You've paid it in full.
Yeah.
And that is the best. That is absolutely the best feeling when you reach that. And I think it takes you to another level.
Yeah.
After you kind of stare at them and you're like, you know what? I'm just as good as you, or if not better. But now I'm actually going to pass you. Yeah. Because I earned every second of that.
Yeah.
And maybe it was given to other people and they had an easy way, and I think it builds that resilience, which is amazing. Let's talk about your training schedule, right? So in the gym, how many times a week are you training? And then sprint specific stuff, how many times a week? What does a week for Ebony look like?
Yeah. So it changes a little bit from pre-season to in-season, in terms of like the load and how many days. So in pre-season, I'm probably training anywhere between 17 to 20 hours. And then that reduces in-season to about 12 to 15 hours. So not much. But in that, usually it's about 3 track sessions, 2 gym sessions, and then either a bike or a pool session, and then either a sand running session or competition.
So, in sprinting, one thing I noticed is there's lots of different body types, shapes, different way people train may be different. What's your take on that? There's never a perfect kind of type, but why is it kind of so different in terms of the structures and shape? Is there a mindset around how you should train as a sprinter?
I think people fall into the trap of this is the way it should be and this is the way it's always been and this is what's going to get you the results. But it's definitely person dependent. Every single training thing that you do has to be specific for you, your body, your size, your shape, and even your age as well. And that's something that I've really noticed this year is everyone in general needs to just stop being like, this is the way that you got to do it, because it works. Because I'm personally like, no, me standing next to the girl that I was next to last night is probably 3 heads taller than me. We're not going to have the same program because she's so much taller than me. I'm shorter. Standing at the start line, I was probably had the biggest muscles there as opposed to some other girls who were tall and lean. So it definitely comes down to what works for you, your body, and what's going to be very specific to you as well.